Why don't we spend Christmas at my parents' place? Matthew suggested, his eyes gleaming with excitement. That was the moment it all began, the beginning of the end. My name is Charlotte, I'm 35 years old, a stay-at-home mom, and a wife. I met Matthew at work, and our office romance quickly turned into marriage. Not long after, we welcomed our daughter, Gianna. I left my job to raise her, and now, at 6 years old, she was about to visit her father's parents for the first time. Their home was far from ours, tucked away in the countryside. Is dinner ready yet? My mother-in-law's voice rang through the house. Almost, I answered, moving swiftly around the kitchen. She gave me a sharp, scrutinizing look. You're so slow, Charlotte. Matthew, how do you put up with such a sluggish wife? Matthew barely looked up from the TV. Yeah, I know, other wives are way more efficient. She's always too slow, it's a problem. I froze. Was he seriously agreeing with her? Before I could react, my mother-in-law piled on more orders. After breakfast tomorrow, you'll be handling the yard work, cleaning out the attic, and organizing the shed. This was supposed to be a holiday, Christmas, a time for rest, but instead, I was stuck running errands like an unpaid worker. By the time I finished all the chores, exhaustion weighed me down. I sank onto the couch, breathing heavily. Phew, I'm wiped out. What are you sitting around for? My mother-in-law snapped. Get lunch ready. I couldn't take it anymore. I've been working all day. Can I at least take a short break? She scoffed. A wife is just a glorified maid. Do you think you can live here for free? Get back to work. The words hit like a slap. Life in Matthew's hometown felt like stepping back in time. They clung to outdated beliefs, where a wife wasn't seen as a partner, but as an extra set of hands to serve the household. But even in the past, wives weren't treated this badly. I turned to Matthew. Can you help me out? No chance, he shot back without hesitation. Of course, at home, he never lifted a finger, and here, he was even worse, lounging around, beer in hand, doing absolutely nothing. We need groceries, can you come with me? I tried again. The store was a 30-minute walk each way. Matthew had a driver's license, but since he'd been drinking all day, he was in no state to drive. At the very least, he could help carry the bags. He grimaced. No way. My patience was wearing thin. I imagined flinging a garbage bag right at his smug face. I'm drinking, he muttered, sipping his beer. And, I shot back. I'm tipsy, I can't go. Translation, he just didn't want to. Frustrated, I grabbed my coat and muttered under my breath, fine, I'll just buy a ridiculous amount of marshmallows. After hauling heavy grocery bags all the way back, I was beyond exhausted. As soon as I stepped inside, I let out a tired sigh and dropped the bags by the entrance. Then, I heard it. Hurry up, you're just as slow as your mother. My mother-in-law's sharp voice cut through the house. I'm sorry, Gianna's small voice replied. My body tensed. My exhaustion vanished in an instant. Without a second thought, I rushed toward the voices, stepping over my useless husband still sprawled on the floor. I entered the kitchen. What is going on here? I demanded. Gianna turned toward me, relief washing over her tearful face. Mom. My mother-in-law sat smugly in a chair, looking completely unbothered. I turned to Gianna. What are you doing, sweetheart? She hesitated before answering. Grandma said she was hungry, so she told me to cook. My breath hitched. My mother-in-law sneered. She's useless in the kitchen, just like her mother. Honestly, are we even sure she's my son's child? That was it. She's 6, I snapped. How could you make a little girl cook for you? Can't you do anything for yourself? My mother-in-law's face darkened. What did you just say to me? Are you expecting an old woman to cook? A wife is supposed to work silently, and a maid's daughter is just another maid. You should be grateful my son even lets you live off his hard work. With that, she stormed out of the kitchen. I stood there, shaking with anger. From the living room, their voices carried over. Your wife is utterly useless, not even as good as a maid, my mother-in-law spat. Matthew laughed. Yeah, but at least Gianna will be useful when she's older. Just gotta be patient. You've had it rough, haven't you? You can always move back home, his mother coaxed. Matthew hummed. Divorce, huh? Actually, that might not be so bad, but if we do that, I'll still need someone to do the chores. Maybe we should all just live together. I could quit my job and take it easy in the countryside while she does all the work. My heart pounded. Did I just hear that right? I clenched my fists so tightly my nails dug into my palms. A small, warm hand gently covered mine. Mom. Gianna stood beside me, her wide eyes full of concern. I knelt down to her level and softly asked, "Sweetheart, do you love Daddy?" She hesitated, then, in a quiet but firm voice, she whispered, "I don't need him." I exhaled. My decision was made. I dumped the tea on him. "What the hell, what are you doing?" he yelped, jumping back. "Relax, it's not hot anymore," I said coolly. "That's not the point, stop it," he protested, shielding himself. Ignoring his complaints, I made sure to drench him thoroughly, swiftly dodging his flailing arms. Then, with a deliberate motion, I set the teacup down with a sharp clink. "You insolent maid, how dare you?" my mother-in-law shrieked, eyes bulging in fury. I turned to her, my patience finally at its limit. "Shut up, I am not your maid, nor am I anything else to you." She shot up from her seat, ready to unleash another tirade, but I cut her off before she could get a word out. "A wife is not a servant, if you weren't aware. Let me educate you, I am not your maid," I declared, my voice sharp as a blade. She opened and closed her mouth like a fish gasping for air, unable to form a response. I leaned in, narrowing the gap between us to mere inches. "Ah," she squeaked, recoiling slightly. I didn't back down. "Listen carefully, there is no rule in this world that allows you to treat your daughter-in-law like a slave. I will protect my family, but I will not be a servant to yours." Her face twisted in rage. "I'm your husband's mother, I'm family, you should obey me." I scoffed. "Are you even listening to yourself? If I were a maid, I wouldn't be family, so which is it? Are you ordering a servant, or are you demanding respect as a relative? Because you sure as hell can't have both." Her already pale face flushed an angry red. "How dare you speak to me this way? I am your mother-in-law. Save your nonsense for when you're dreaming," I shot back. I had endured endlessly, patiently, but this was the final straw. My mother-in-law's entitlement, my husband's negligence. I was done. I took a step closer, my gaze ice cold. "And tell me, what about your granddaughter? You think she's a maid too?" At that, her expression faltered, the arrogance drained from her face like water down a sink. Pathetic, for all her big talk, just a little pushback sent her crumbling. How utterly disappointing. I straightened, my disgust evident. My mother-in-law stood frozen, her body trembling. I turned my attention to the real problem, my so-called husband. "Your turn," I said. Okay." He stammered weakly. "What the hell were you doing while your wife and daughter were being treated like dirt?" I demanded. He gulped. I was playing on my phone, and drinking beer." I let out a dry laugh. "So you sat back, enjoying your drinks, while we were treated like servants? Must be nice." I am sorry." He mumbled. "Sorry won't cut it, maybe the police." No, he yelped, his voice cracking in panic. I barely concealed my irritation as I pulled out a document and slapped it onto the table. "Just sign this and save us both the trouble." My husband, who had been cowering behind his mother like a lost child, peeked out cautiously. They looked like a ridiculous duo, a mother turtle and her clueless hatchling. His face drained of all color when he read the paper. "Divorce? What is this?" he stuttered. "Exactly what it says. I'm leaving, for good." Both he and his mother gaped at me, speechless. "I've already spoken to a lawyer. The paperwork will be filed right after the holiday, so just sign it and be done with it." Wait, you can't just spring this on me," he stammered, shaking his head furiously. "Unlike you, I don't hesitate once I make up my mind." His lip trembled. "I don't want a divorce. Please don't leave me." I tilted my head, feigning curiosity. "Oh, and why is that?" Because having me around to do everything is convenient, right?" His eyes darted away. I mean, no, that's not it. You just admitted it a second ago." I let out a sigh. "Honestly, this feels like déjà vu." At my words, he let out a pathetic whimper. "Look, you can refuse to sign all you want, but whether you do or not, the divorce is happening. I've already informed my family." I turned toward the doorway. "Gianna, come here." "Mom, what is it?" my daughter asked, stepping forward. "Are you ready to go?" Her face lit up. "Yep, I packed all my stuff." She held up her little bag proudly. Behind us, my husband panicked. "Wait, where are you going?" "Good question. We're heading to my parents' place now." His voice rose. "No, stop joking around." I gave him a cold, amused look. The only one who's been joking is you. What kind of man drags his family home for the holidays just to treat them like maids? We'll discuss the divorce with the lawyer. Goodbye. With that, I picked up our bags and turned toward the door. My husband scrambled after us. Wait, you can't live without me. I stopped. Slowly, I turned back to face him. He froze. What was that? I asked. He hesitated. Well, you need me, right? I raised an eyebrow. Need you? A cruel smile tugged at my lips. Have you forgotten? Before I left my job due to pregnancy, I was earning more than you. Even then, my salary was higher than what you make now. His expression crumbled. I could almost hear the gears in his tiny brain grinding to a halt. Ah, so he had forgotten. How convenient. Yes, I had been out of work for a while, but my parents had already promised to support me while I got back on my feet. I had no doubt I'd manage. No, I would make it work. Seeing my determination, my husband practically burst into tears. I'm sorry, I swear. I'll change. Please, don't leave me. I shook my head. You had endless chances to change. You wasted them all. It's too late. I reached for the door. And then, wait. My mother-in-law, who had been silent until now, suddenly spoke up. I turned, irritated. What now? She wrung her hands, looking troubled. Then, as if she had just thought of the most important thing in the world, she blurted out. But, what about my dinner? I stared at her, utterly dumbfounded. Then I laughed, loud and unapologetic. I don't give a damn, I shouted, throwing the door open. And this time, for real, we walked out of that miserable house, never to return.